2025 was a massive year for viral food trends. Matcha, Dubai chocolate, and crumble cookies were just a few of the ones that we covered here on this channel. And these were trends that took a hold on our food culture, and at least for a while, seemed to be popping up everywhere and were being inserted into everything. However, there has been a slower but equally popular food trend from the other side of the world that has become very ubiquitous and very popular in North America that we wanted to talk about on this channel. Boba, or bubble tea, which is a Taiwanese specialty that involves some kind of flavored beverage with pearls of tapioca in it, has been popping up all over the place. And the reason why is very different from the food trends that we just mentioned previously. Slowly but surely, boba has been taking over. From being able to find boba pearls at your local Starbucks to a boba shop becoming the world's largest fast food chain, even eclipsing McDonald's. These tapioca pearls didn't get here by accident though, and you are probably going to be seeing a lot more of them in the future. So let's get into it. Thank you to Storyblocks for sponsoring today's video. So as a team, Lou, Matthew, and I were brainstorming this idea, and we weren't entirely sure that we were going to make it because, in my opinion, boba has not had its viral moment yet.
Matthew, do you know, can you name a boba tea?
No, I don't know.
I think Lou is maybe the authority in the boba tea world for this video.
Well, Cha Time is definitely the most popular one. It's the biggest franchise that I know of. Obviously, I know of little mom and pop shops, but I think the one thing that we're I read through the script, and as I read through it, there's a part where you say that you went to Taiwan 10 years ago and you had bubble tea there.
I got to try boba in Taiwan 10 years ago.
And I mentioned that to Wade, and Wade was like, yeah, no shit, I had bubble tea in Fort St. John 10 years ago. And that's the part that we need to emphasize here. We've had bubble tea available in rural northern Canada forever. Yeah. And so it's not a trend that just blew up all of a sudden. It's kind of just been surmounting to more and more and more every year.
And I think in some ways, the reason why we hadn't made a video about boba up to this point is that there isn't some kind of dark, twisted, or inherently negative aspect to this story. The sad truth is that a video that is mostly positive about a consumer product that isn't horribly manipulative will probably not get as many views and will probably make less money for this channel. But hold on a second. Are you looking for stock footage of tapioca pearls swirling around a straw? Or maybe milk tea being poured into a glass? Well, weirdly enough, so are we. And that is why we use Storyblocks, the sponsor of today's video. Storyblocks is a stock media subscription that helps creatives and businesses of any size make videos with royalty-free 4K and HD footage, After Effects and Premiere Pro templates, music, images, sound effects, and so many other assets with unlimited downloads, all in one predictable subscription costs. Genuinely, we have been using Storyblocks since the inception of this channel, over 4 years ago, and we swear by them. I don't even know how we would make this content without this subscription. This subscription gives you everything that you need and more to create video content at a higher quality. Plus, their library is 100% human-made with no generative AI content, which is amazing and just another reason why we use them. But there's also the Storyblocks plugin for Adobe Premiere Pro and After Effects, which is a freaking game changer. This plugin helps video creators make videos faster by allowing them to search, download, and then try different content from the library of over 1 million royalty-free stock assets directly within the Adobe Creative Cloud. It has been an instrumental source of creativity for us, and you've really got to check them out if you do anything in the video world. So to get started with unlimited stock media downloads at one set price, head to storyblocks.com/Levi Hildebrand or just click the link down in the description. I guarantee you're gonna freaking love it. Thank you so much to Storyblocks for sponsoring today's video. Let's get right back into it. Now, despite the slightly unconventional popularity of boba, we all had the same feeling that boba was a pretty big deal because you see the shops everywhere, even though they might not all be under the same name, right? So even in my extremely white suburban North American city, there is 4 boba shops that I could go to.
Dude, look at this. We got
boba time over here, and then literally right beside it, we've got another bubble tea place. This is like when you have multiple Starbuckses or multiple coffee shops lined up on the same street, but they're boba places in a mall. Like, that's how popular this beverage is.
But it's not that there are a surprising number of physical locations. Boba is also very popular online. There's a ton of viral videos that we're going to be getting into later. So Google Trend tells us that there is an uptick in the searches for boba and bubble tea. And there's a spike in particular in 2022 for boba, which I do suspect has something else going on with it. I'm not entirely sure. I tried to figure it out. If anyone else has any ideas, let me know.
Okay, I looked into it. January 2022 is when the Star Wars miniseries, The Book of Boba Fett, came out. So, yeah, the boba is in Boba Fett.
But overall, we're not seeing a huge, overpowering search volume for this trend. It's just kind of consistently trucking along at a healthy pace. So then I wanted to know if the signature feature of bubble tea, the bubbles, had been co-opted by any legacy players in North America, sort of like matcha has, right? And the answer is yes, but only kind of. Starbucks launched a few drinks with pearls last summer, but there wasn't really a ton of coverage on them, and it seems like they were only in certain stores and certain locations, and there was a lot of questions about whether or not it was going to be reinstated. Sonic and Dunkin' launched some versions of the boba trend back in 2021. Baskin-Robbins launched a boba in 2022, but Dunkin' discontinued that initial foray. Baskin-Robbins never bought theirs back either, and I wasn't able to find bubble tea on any of those menus online today. But I did find out that Sonic sells frozen drinks that have nerds in them, which is great news. So looking at that, you'd think that there is not really a huge demand for boba in this part of the world, right? Well, let me ask you this. Have you heard of Gong Cha? No? Well, they're serving boba at over 2,100 stores around the world right now. Have you heard of Cha Time? This is considered to be the biggest bubble tea chain in the world, and it has over 3,500 stores globally. Now, if you compare that to the estimated 18,000 plus stores that Starbucks has in North America alone, that might not seem very significant, but consider this. It is probably a lot easier to track the number of Starbucks stores than it is to count all of the various stores and locations of the many smaller chains and independent sellers that you see serving boba today. Like, there's always like a boba time or special boba somewhere around you. But also, boba didn't exist in any form until the 1980s. And it wasn't until the mid-2000s when there was actually multi-location chain establishments. And I think that there's a really important third factor here, because while the beverage does rely on tea as a base, it is definitely not in the daily use category like coffee or tea typically is. So in many ways, comparing boba to Starbucks isn't maybe the best analogy, but it's the one that we thought the most people would relate to. And this beverage category is popular primarily amongst younger people, young female people in particular, who are seeking something different than the typical coffee shop latte. So while it has been slowly ramping up momentum amongst other demographics, it is not a mainstay for all audiences. So maybe we're ahead of the curve for the first time ever on this channel, but I am predicting that bubble tea is going to become an even bigger deal in the near future, and maybe even viral. And let me explain why. One pretty obvious reason why boba is killing it today is very much the same reason why a lot of the other food trends that I talked about are getting so popular, is because this is a very visual food product. Boba is perhaps the most visually striking beverage category out there, with chunks of fruit and jello and of course tapioca mixed with various colors of tea and beverage within it to make this incredible looking cocktail. Apparently there was also this trend of giant pearls that went viral a couple of years ago.
Find the viral giant boba pearls. When I saw this on my TikTok feed, I went ballistic.
Hold on, Lou actually pulled one up for me to watch. Wow, I don't know if I was ready for Oh! Okay, I was not prepared for this. Dude, I don't know if I was prepared for this at all. What are we... Dude, that was crazy. The emojis at the top of this video are baffling. We got Dwayne The Rock Johnson's head. We got a boba tea. We've got a caterpillar, maybe a shrimp thing, a shit emoji with tapioca pearls in it, and then a skewer with tapioca pearls on it. Is this the kind of viral... Hey, at least they're having fun. That was crazy, y'all. I wasn't ready for that. So that video aside, a huge part of this drink's success is the customizability of the drink itself. And the combinations are truly endless and people can really just do whatever they want. Apparently, Lou was saying that there's even cheesy like milk foam that you can put on your boba. I don't know how I feel about that. So I think this in part explains the drink's appeal amongst younger Americans and in the UK in particular. But what's interesting is that this aesthetic quality wasn't like planned or curated like the crumble cookies phenomenon was. This is just the way that bubble tea has been served as long as we had plastic containers to put it in. I got to try boba in Taiwan like 10 years ago, and it was the same exact thing as it is here today. That video of me is extremely cringy. I'm super glad that it only exists in whatever form Matthews decided to edit it into this video.
I want to see some serious poundage right now. Come on.
And this is actually a big aspect of this trend's popularity too. It's foreign influence. There seems to be a big push happening right now towards more Asian trends in North America. I don't know how to say that and not make it weird. Temu has taken over a huge chunk of online shopping in the US. Pop Mart created the most viral collectible of the year, and K-pop Demon Hunters is the most popular show on Netflix. And there's a lot of other Asian trends that are going viral in the United States right now. And similar to what we talked about in our matcha episode, a huge part of bubble tea's success and popularity is because it is actually rooted and connected to a cultural backbone. But unlike matcha, which is mostly a drink with roots in Japan, bubble tea has become a cultural connection for a lot of different communities throughout Asia. And those immigrant communities are now living in the United States and Canada, and in some ways are driving this trend's growth. It was kind of hard to get numbers on where boba is most popular globally, but the list on Wikipedia gives you a bit of an idea of how many places boba has become a part of that local culture. Apparently there is over 500,000 bubble tea shops in China, which kind of makes sense because they are the biggest Asian country and they have very close ties to Taiwan, but apparently bubble tea is a huge thing in Sri Lanka and India right now. So I'm assuming that this appeal in North America in some ways comes from a sort of disconnected cultural association that you might have. Say you're a Vietnamese person living in Canada, for example. My impression is that bubble tea may not be specifically Vietnamese, but it is a drink that you might have had in Vietnam, and it connects you to a bunch of people from different parts of the world who have come here in maybe similar circumstances and also have a shared interest in that drink too. I'm really trying to not say, you know, like all Asian people, because that's definitely not true. I mean, there's white women there too. Another aspect of this whole story is the way in which boba has grown because of their franchise model. The two biggest chains in the boba space run a franchise model, which means that you license the use of their name and branding. But as an individual, you are running the business aspects day to day. But very interestingly, with boba, there is a huge wave of independent people starting boba businesses, and there's like online gurus on YouTube showing people how to start up their own boba business. This is kind of like when we made that video about self-storage. Like, you would never think about it as a business idea, but apparently there's a whole bunch of people who will just go out and buy land and build self-storage units as like a business, as like a side hustle. And that's what people are doing with boba. They're buying up all the supplies to make their own boba business because apparently it has really good profit margins. The reason why people are starting their own boba businesses is because the ingredients like milk and tapioca and sugar and stuff are cheap, and you don't need a ton of space to operate a shop because all you need is basically like a barista bar and that's it. So as a result, you're seeing boba shops all over the place, and a lot of them aren't a part of some centralized chain, but just people with a desire to start up a side hustle, you know? So think back to the numbers that we talked about off the top, right? Maybe those bigger chains combined don't have the numbers that Starbucks does, but imagine what those numbers might be with all the independent sellers included too. I did find a number on a website that I don't entirely trust that said that there was a 330% increase in boba supply exports since 2018, which would be a lot, but it would also kind of align with the numbers that we're seeing, right? Once again though, not entirely sure if I trust the source that I got that from. But this is the part of the story that I don't understand. There are thousands, maybe millions of these stores around the world. Why isn't it on every major chain's menu in the United States? Why hasn't this become a cultural staple in North America in the same way? I'm gonna give you my thoughts on that in a second, but this story isn't over, and in many ways, I think this is actually only just the beginning. I think one of the most unique things that boba has going for it is its function as a base for other stuff, in the same way that matcha became its own sort of category. See, matcha is now a daily beverage category alongside coffee and tea, and there is a whole world of specialty drinks being built from and upon this matcha base, bubble tea included.
I think I just unlocked the most performative drink. Matcha and boba.
And this is what we've already seen with bubble tea forever, is this ability to customize and modify the beverage to your preference.
Double boba strawberry chocolate milk. What would that even taste like?
And while that is on its own a cool consumer novelty, it also opens up the category as a whole to whatever food trend is happening around it. Yeah, there were Dubai chocolate bubble teas all over the place. Labubus were being photographed with their bubble teas, and they made edible Labubu bobas, and even Crumble Cookie made a passion fruit boba cookie. So it's kind of inevitable that we're going to see boba-inspired products in the future. So if you put all this together, bubble tea has done everything necessary for the food trend to break out and take over the world. A strong cultural backbone, a new and exciting format for the US market, a social media friendly aesthetic, and a ton of viral videos of people making giant versions of it for some reason and just yelling the whole time. So in all of the necessary categories, boba is already one of the most popular drinks online and in the real world, but they haven't broken out in the ways that US-centered trends typically do. And for me, in some ways, this is why this trend is like kind of inspiring to me. Like, even though this hasn't become like a viral trend to the point where it's been totally ruined, it's still massively successful and an influential product that billions of people will enjoy every single year. But it hasn't gotten to that point of people being disgusted by it. So thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoy what you're watching, subscribe, and you'll see us every single week for another update.